Hello and welcome to this video or this live stream on how to become a professional web dev starting right now. Oops, I'm not supposed to show this, am I? Alright, so what you want to do is first of all grab a copy of Visual Studio Code. So we are starting the stream right now. So basically what's going to happen is I'm not going to sorry, let me just try and get this fitted over here. Why is my menu bar showing? Yeah, so this is a live stream, so there's going to be little hiccups like this. Whatever. You know, if anything gets in the way of coding, just ignore it. So I'm just going to resize my window a little bit. I'll fix this later. Sometimes Windows is annoying and okay, well that window was really large. What the heck? Okay, there we go. I need to just see that little bottom right there. Yeah, sometimes the Windows toolbar just doesn't hide even though I had it set to that forever. Okay, so what I'm gonna say is you need Visual Studio Code and I'm gonna expect you to open up your browser and just even if you didn't know it was VS Code, you could just type in Visual Studio Code, go ahead and go to the download button, find your appropriate system, probably Mac or Windows. This is Linux, another operating system, and just follow all the instructions to do so, because when you're on the job, you got to know how to do this. If you don't know how to do this, you got to figure out how to do this. And fortunately, it's not that hard. You just go here to the download page and then install this, and then double click on that download when it goes to your downloads folder, and all, etc., etc. Just follow the instructions. Okay, so if you haven't gotten a copy of Visual Studio Code, you can pause the video, or it's a live stream, but I think I'm going to publish it later, and go ahead and download Visual Studio Code. Okay, now if you're on now here's where it gets tougher. If you're on a Windows thing like me, you would have this thing called PowerShell. So let me just go ahead and open that up. And this really dorky looking thing is like a command line terminal, a CLI. So in the command line terminal, we can do a lot of cool things. This is my computer, users. I'm in the users directory. Daniels. This is called the drive, so that's C drive. All right, so just a note that I'm gonna try and make this user friendly, even though it's super fast. So some things I do have to slow down and explain in case someone has never seen a command line terminal before. So we got Windows PowerShell, blah, blah, blah. We don't really care about that stuff. All we care about is this prompt. It's called a prompt. It's prompting me to do something. Okay, so I'm going to do some simple commands. I'm going to just do list. ls means list. And I just want to go to my playground, yeah. Okay, so I can see that drive over there, that directory, I'm sorry. Directory just means folder. And I'll go to playground. Now I can hit tab and it will autocomplete for me. Well, that was a weird autocomplete, but I guess that's how PowerShell does it. So that's cool, because if you just hit tab, it'll know that there's only one file with a P and an L. Playground. So tab, I just go playground and then just hit tab. Oop. Well, that time it did something different, but it's a great shortcut. Now what I'm going to do is I have a little shortcut here where I can enter the command code period. Now if you installed Visual Studio Code, I think it will ask you if you want to install a way to shortcut to it. Okay, so that's how I got this. If not, this is kind of sad, but I just have to say Google it, because you can Google, I'll give you the term, like how to open VS Code from command line terminal, if you're on a Windows system, say Windows or Mac, the command line terminal is slightly different, not insignificantly different. So that's why I make that distinction, is you should Google Mac or Windows. Okay, so anyway, when I've already set this up. So I actually didn't need this window here. I resized that and everything. Alright, so let me just do, I know this is annoying, but you know, sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do, right? Why? Oh crap, I opened it in Playground. Okay, that's the problem. So I'm just gonna show you this thing called Vite. Okay, I'm gonna fast forward you. So we're gonna go to Vite. So what this Vite is most importantly for us, it's a development server. So that sounds very mysterious probably if you're a beginner, but don't worry, we'll get to it. So I'm teaching you like modern JavaScript. Okay, so we want to type this. Let me just grab this real quick. npm create vite at latest. So I'm just on the Vite.js website, just going to how to install. It's bringing me, you know, scaffolding your first Vite project with npm. Do that. Okay. So now where am I? Yeah, npm create vite at latest. So I'm in my playground. That's good. I'll paste this in. I'll just type it in npm create vite at latest. Okay. Now you might be saying, what the heck is V? What is this latest stuff? Blah 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 blah. And what is npm? Don't worry about it. What's important is that this command is going to help us create like a pretty simple website. It's just going to do everything for us. Okay, so if you want to learn fast, this is the way to do it. Don't worry about, oh, you got to learn HTML first and blah 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 and CSS. What's going on? Well, that's weird. Okay, PowerShell sucks. Okay, you know what? I'm going to hit Control C and jump out of here. Control C will finally cancel. Okay, I had to bang it a couple times. Don't worry about it. I just wanted to show you the built-in Windows CLI. It's called PowerShell. It sucks. So a lot of people, I Googled this, use this thing called CMD or command, and actually, oops, let's see, I don't think that's right. CMD. Commander, console emulator. Alright, so it's a portable console emulator for Windows. It looks really nice, and I will show you that this was what PowerShell was, but it's just looks better, and it's just better. Okay, so I'm gonna change my directory into my playgrounds folder. Now I hit tab, see how nice it is? Boom, I'm in my playground. Now I installed this thing called npm. Okay, don't worry about it. Well, you should worry about it, right? Because you gotta download it. So it's actually part of this thing called Node. Okay, so you go to Node, and I would recommend you just get the long-term, what is it called? Long-term service, I think, or latest stable. It's like the latest stable one that's getting long-term stable. I don't know. Sorry, that's kind of embarrassing, but I know it just means that this is the latest one, the current one, but it might break stuff. So a lot of people will opt for this one because things break so often in the JavaScript ecosystem that we love it when things are nice and stable, relatively speaking. Okay, so you can go ahead and just grab that Node thing. Now, Node in a nutshell is like so you have your web browser Chrome, right, which we're using. Well, Chrome is a web browser, so it can't like look in your um, computer directory, your hard drive, for files and save to them and stuff. I mean, it could if you allow it to look at it, but I don't think it can write. There's like, it's called sandboxing, where, you know, because the browser is, I guess, connected to the internet and other people could hack the browser. They wanted to make the browser extremely safe as possible. So that's why in your browser it has a hard time interacting with your computer file system, because hackers would love that, right? So this guy, Ryan Dahl, Dahl, he was like, well, hey, why don't we kind of use the guts of Chrome? The V8 engine is the guts of Chrome, and actually bring it into the computer hard drive environment. Okay, so that's what Node is. It's like the web browser, but with like, it can do whatever it wants to your files. You can make directories, make new files, do all sorts of things that the browser can't. So that's why Node is just like this crazy innovation. He's like, well, why don't we just allow the browser to kind of operate in the back end? Okay, so it can control your computer, whereas your browser is prevented from controlling your computer to, a large extent. Okay, you can drag files into your web browser, but it's a lot harder, other than saving, to like change existing files on your hard drive. All right, so yeah, that Node's cool. Now, what is interesting is that Node comes with NPM. That's NPM stands for Node Package Manager. So Package Manager, NPM, is like a library, a worldwide library. Anyone can access, pieces of software on Node and download them via the Node Package Manager. So that's why the NPM is so powerful, because what we're gonna do soon is gonna show you how powerful NPM is. Because in my command line, right? This is just called a command line. This thing where you type stuff. That's the prompt right there. We type this simple command: npm create vite at latest. Okay, where's my command? Mr. CMD. Okay, so npm create. So npm, these are commands, and we're just doing this. This is the library name, and we're saying give us the latest version. Okay, and it'll be nice enough to like ask, okay, what do you want for your project name? So we'll just call this become a web dev now. Okay, because even just you listening to this, you're on the journey to becoming a web dev. So we're gonna go simple and go with vanilla basic JavaScript, no frameworks. Like Vue is the one I use at my company. It's like an elegant competitor to React. Basically what these frameworks do, their main thing that they do is that they make your web app be able to have reactive data. So like a spreadsheet where you can like change one cell and it updates all the others. That's really useful, right? Like we definitely take that for granted. That should be a feature. Well, that's what these frameworks provide. But we're gonna go to vanilla JavaScript, because no matter what framework you work in, and I work in Vue, you will likely work in React, because that's the most popular framework. You've got to know your vanilla JavaScript. You've got to be a vanilla JavaScript like ninja, eventually at least. So now that dark blue is super hard to read, that's not accessible at all, is TypeScript, and that is turning JavaScript into a strongly typed language. Now that may sound like gobbledygook to you, but what I'm saying is that essentially TypeScript is a little more laborious to write, but TypeScript prevents a lot of headaches. Yeah, that's how I could sum TypeScript up. But you've got to get vanilla JavaScript down pat first. Or you could start with TypeScript if you're really ambitious and you have experience with other languages, strongly typed languages. Okay, so that command npm create via latest just prompted us some basic stuff. We said vanilla JavaScript, and it's already done. So it scaffolded our project. So let's go and take a look at it. So I'm going to go CD, BE, I'm going to hit tab. It's going to autocomplete. Now I'm going to, okay, I have my shortcut code, period. From the command line, it's going to magically open up my VS Code. I'm going to close CMD so that I can use the terminal. There's a built-in command line into VS Code, and you access that by hitting Control and the tilde, the top left key. Okay, I do this all the time because the command line terminal is very useful. Okay, now I'll tell you right now that my VS Code is highly configured, and it took me a long time to do it, relatively speaking. So I'll just try to outline what I do have, and if you don't have it, you can go, or you didn't configure it, you can go ahead and pause the video and configure it. So instead of PowerShell, I made it so that I have CMD commander. So you can, just go to configure terminal settings, and you'll be able to add your favorite one and set it as a default. Okay, if you haven't done so and you want to do so, go ahead and pause. It's going to be a fun little rabbit hole, and once you complete that task, trust me, you're that much closer to becoming a web developer, professional web developer, because this is not trivial to do this as a beginner. So hope you were able to do that, or you plan to do that. If you like CMD, you can always use PowerShell, no problem. What do I have here? I have PowerShell, command prompt. I don't know why I have so many. I only use this one. Now, what they asked us to do is hit npm install. So just take a look at this area and watch what happens. So it's installing all the node packages. So added 8 packages, audited 9 in 4 seconds. 3 packages are looking for money, haha. Well, I mean, not haha. These authors of these packages are saying, hey, we need some funding to keep this going. So, if you're making money off these folks, consider, supporting them. 0 vulnerabilities, that's good. And it added this node modules folder. So basically the Vite vanilla JavaScript scaffolding uses these packages. So, it's kind of not annoying, but it's kind of not typical to look at them here, I guess. You look at them in a shortcut by looking at your package.json. Okay, if your VS Code looks different from mine and you like this theme that I'm using, don't worry about it. I just searched a long time and spent a long time customizing this. So like the line height, I customized, the space between the lines, and the font of it is all customized. It's a bit of a rabbit hole, but like once you're set, like I don't even think about it, I just use it. So the journey to becoming a professional web dev, it takes a long time, and I'm trying to squish it all in a live stream. So from all the extensions that I have installed, which look at them all, boom, boom, boom. I think I even edited this color of these slides, because see how nice and visible it is? I think that it used to be much darker, so you can actually go in and edit these little slidey things. So yeah, we'll go back to what we're doing now. If you want, you can pause and go ahead and explore how to customize your VS Code. There's so many good YouTube tutorials and articles, so go ahead and have at it. Okay, so the package.json file. Now JSON is just this style of writing. So it's usually, yeah, it's an object. JavaScript object notation, JavaScript object notation. And yeah, you have this object, and then you have the first key is in quotes. All the keys are in quotes. And then all the values can be whatever. All right, so name, become a web dev now. Hey, that's the name that I gave it. Private, it's a private NPM package for now. They give us some versioning, scaffolding. Type module. Scripts. Okay, so here are the commands we can run. Okay, so dev will run actually Vite. When we run build, it'll actually run Vite build, Vite preview. And then it shows us that our only dependency is Vite. So why are there so many modules here if our only dependency is the Vite library? Well, the Vite library itself has internal dependencies. ESBuild, NanoID, Pico Colors, PostCSS, Rollup, SourceMap.js. Okay, that's why there are so many node modules in here. So all these libraries are crucial to our project, but really the most direct, the abstracted library on top is just Vite. Now if I run npm, and then to run a script up here, we just go run, and then we say dev. Okay, let's do that first one. Boom. Okay, tells I'm gonna command click on this bad boy. Bam. Follow link. Come on. Oh, okay, I was alt clicking. Oops, I'm used to my Mac. Okay, so here is our app. So they kind of gave us this little starter. Click on the button. Okay, all this is vanilla JavaScript. This is a web. They gave us a link to Vite in JavaScript. Okay, now I'm going to right click and inspect. I always, as a developer, tend to keep my DevTools console available just so I can see the feedback there. So again, right click, inspect. There is a keyboard shortcut. I forget. Control Shift, Command Shift I. I don't know what it is on Windows. I usually just right click. Okay, so our server, this is the Vite server. Now why do we call it a server? Because it is acting like a website. So we're used to, like, you know, going to google.com. Well, what is google.com? It's actually like a URL that connects us to a server. So server is delivering this content to us, you know. And when we, you know, say Node.js, boom, our input is transmitted over to that server. The server receives our text, Node.js, and it returns to our browser all this stuff. Okay, so this is a server. Actually, you know, other people, it's a public server. This is a local server. This is on our computer. But think of it like google.com, you know, it's this URL. This URL just means Uniform Resource Locator. It's just what, you know, it's pasted in here. This URL is actually just serving us this content. Now, where is this content coming from? Well, that is our website. Now, the first page that opens up on a URL, I'm going to hit Control tilde to hide this. Now remember that you do have to be hovering over it, because if I hit Control tilde here, oh, wait. Okay, maybe it's different on Windows and Mac. It's hiding it. Okay, so the index.html, I'm just going to assume you know basic HTML is like the structure, the skeleton of the body. So here's the main part. It's in the body tag, and we've got a div element. Now div element just means this is an element, a generic element. This is the body element or tag, HTML element. That's like where all the main stuff goes. The head is like where like some useful information is contained. HTML is sort of like the core root, and then this just tells people, hey, I'm a HTML doc. Now what's crazy is that within HTML you can actually insert a script element or a script tag, and basically it's saying, hey, look in main.js. Okay, so we're gonna go same root level, main.js. Now we can open these side by side just by dragging it like that. And you can adjust these. And here's main.js. Okay, so this is JavaScript. The ending .js tells us it's JavaScript. This is .html. That's HTML, an HTML file. Okay. Now all this junk, which we're going to delete, is creating this stuff. And I'll prove it to you. I'll delete the SVG. Alright, so the beauty of Vite, this development server, is that when it detects most changes, it'll actually just update automatically. So notice that I didn't have to refresh in order to see my change, right? And if you notice, the JavaScript logo is gone. If you don't believe me, oops, I don't do that too. There it is again. Okay, so I'm gonna delete everything, no worries, because that's stuff I don't want. You know, I'm gonna delete this. We don't want you. In our vanilla installation, right? We don't want anything, so we really just want a fresh, clean canvas, a blank canvas, if you will. So I'm just going to show you some stuff and then conclude this stream. We definitely covered a lot of ground. You know, we're already, we have a project, thanks to Vite, the Vite scaffolding, and, you know, we've got a completely blank page. What's going on here? Okay, I hit refresh. I saw an error in the console. I was like, uh-oh. But, you know, I just had to refresh and it's gone. We're good. Now I'm just going to put an H1 element, and I'm just going to say hello world. So that's a classic, right? And voila, we have hello world. Now, the H1 just means it's a heading. Okay, so if I do a little paragraph tag under it, this is a paragraph. Okay. Now, let's see. I kind of want to show you something pretty cool. This is sort of like a bonus, because some people would say, hey, you should learn CSS, vanilla CSS, before you learn Tailwind CSS. But here's what I'm going to tell you. it doesn't matter. If you learn Tailwind CSS first, then go ahead and spend time building your vanilla CSS foundation. If you're comfortable, or I'm sorry, if you started doing vanilla CSS, I wouldn't necessarily think that's better, but because Tailwind CSS might allow you to do things that you are hard to do in vanilla CSS. And so if you have the mental flexibility to be like, okay, if I use vanilla CSS all the time, I'm going to learn things are going to emerge that are not necessarily emerging from my experiences with Tailwind, CSS, and vice versa. So what I'm saying is, as a web developer, to become a great web developer, you want to have the mental flexibility to be like, well, which one am I using the most right now for work? Then go ahead and focus on that. But I'm saying, if your work uses vanilla CSS or another flavor of CSS called Sass or SCSS, I know those don't sound the same, but they're the same thing, I believe. It provides things on top of vanilla CSS that just make it more convenient, but it's very close to CSS, so there'll be tons of crossover there. Tailwind CSS is pretty different, so let's just have some fun and explore this abstraction on top of vanilla CSS. So let's just follow this npm install. Just copy that. I think I can just jump in here. Let me open my terminal. Now I can open up another one because this one is running my server. So I hit that little split thing, and I have one right here. Paste 2 lines, yes. Okay, so I'm installing Tailwind CSS. The D means it's a dev dependency. Now what does a dev dependency? Well, it's something that you use when you're making your app. When you're publishing your app, this stuff doesn't go out with it because that would be wasteful, right? We don't want to make our app bigger to download when it doesn't have to be. Okay, so that worked, and then the second one is waiting for me to hit enter. I will hit enter. npx, I know that's different from npm. npx actually executes something without putting it on your hard drive. So it'll download it, but then it'll delete it after it runs this little program. So this init command, tailwind CSS init, gives us this tailwind.config.js. And this is quite common, a configuration file. A lot of libraries. When I say libraries, I just mean node modules, which also means like node apps or node pieces of software. Okay, so it's just convenient to call it a library. I mean, I would really call it, if it's the library metaphor, I'd call it like a book. It's a book in the NPM library, but I guess that's what they call them, libraries. Now you can put this period, it looks funny, right? Hey, there's 2 periods, but you can do this. It's legal. And what it gives you is just another tool to separate these words. So tailwind.config.js, great. Now, you might have seen that this was italic, right? So if I switch to another file, it'll switch in this tab, but let's say I want the tab to stick, then I would double click it, and then if I open another one, it'll keep that tab, okay? So taking a look at the Tailwind config, they wanted us to do more. So they want us to add the paths to all of your template files. Template files are HTML and JS, okay? So I'm just gonna copy this. So basically they just added this part, module exports. Oh, okay, there's something different about it. So I'm just gonna grab what's in here because that's what changed. Okay, yeah. This is using like a syntax called CommonJS, whereas this one's using a syntax export default that's called ECMAScript modules or ES modules. Okay, so that's why I grabbed the contents, because I want to keep this. Don't want to change that. Okay, so then it says add the Tailwind directives to your main CSS file. I'm gonna grab those and go to my main CSS file, which had a bunch of junk in it. So I'm gonna, this is what was pre-configured with that. We saw that original homepage with the logos and stuff. I don't want that. So Tailwind takes care of that for me. That's why Tailwind is nice. It basically, to make a long story short, CSS defaults in the browsers are not ideal. Sometimes they're like slightly different. So what a lot of professionals do is that they will install a CSS library that will make everything the same. So they'll strip out the margins, strip out the padding and the spacings, and just do a whole bunch of little stuff that makes it easier to work with, and so that you specify it and then it looks the same across all browsers. Okay, so what's this? Start the Tailwind. So that's what this stuff does. I'm sorry. Tailwind base sort of like resets the CSS to a good place, and this builds on top of it. So we got components and utilities, which we'll talk about later. Now start the Tailwind CLI, run the CLI tool to scan your template files. Oh, that's kind of annoying. I think. Is that annoying? Okay. Let's just go ahead and create a source file. That's like a way to, that's counter, that was with the, came with the installation. Let's get rid of that. So let's put main and source, styles. So our config can stay in the root. We want the root to have all the config files, and within source we can put all this stuff. Now often, you know, people will like, we'll have a lot of JavaScript files, so we'll, you know, kind of nest it further just for, as this app gets bigger, it's going to help a lot. Now we gotta definitely update that path, because since we put it in a folder, we gotta say, okay, here is my main.js file. Alright, so we're just gonna go maybe 5 more minutes and then I'll call it stop to this madness. Now how do we get this CSS in here? Well, let's delete this Vite SVG icon, which we're not using anymore. And here's one way to link your CSS to the page. So I just have to tell it where is it. Okay, let's go to where I'm, okay, so I'm in index.html and I have to see where is style.css relative to this. So it's a sister or brother of it, so all I have to do is do that. Hit tab to autocomplete, and that should do the trick. I'm gonna just cancel this because I added a ton of stuff, so. Wait, hold on, I gotta do this. So input, source, ours is called style output dist. Yeah, sure. That's good. Okay, now we had a watch flag. This is called a flag. It's like a little extra thing after two dashes. And it's watching our style.css. Alright, it's actually watching all these files for changes. And if it senses any change, it'll rebuild for us. So that's why this watch thing is pretty cool. Saved us a ton of work. So let's go ahead and spin up our dev server again. Localhost 5173. We just refresh. What's wrong? Failed to load. Okay, that error looks a little tough to figure out. So let's see if I forgot a step here. Start using tail. Oh, okay. Dist output. Okay. We gotta look at the ending. So I'm gonna go out of my directory. So that means the two dots means you're going up. So I gotta go out of source and into dist. That's helpful. And then right to output CSS. Okay, so that's why VS Code's so awesome. It just auto helps you and auto completes. Okay, so I guess that was a pretty big change, and sometimes V doesn't pick up on big changes, so arg, still having a problem. Localhost 5173. Just checking my style sheet. Up into dist. There it is. Huh. Okay. Yeah, that's strange. I'm getting this error CR bug. Okay. Step one is to copy it. Go to Google. Browser bug. Okay, so I'm not so sure. Content. There's nothing in there, that's fine. Cancel both. fine. That's just Tailwind doing all its stuff, which we want. PM run dev. Whoa, this is weird. Non-JS module files deprecated. Well, okay, so this is like a weird error. Like, oftentimes these errors are very helpful. So weird. So what would I do in this situation? As a professional, okay, I've got another weapon, not a weapon, a tool in my tool chest. I've got Copilot task, okay. Let's see what the AI can do for us. That's weird, it's saying it's not my problem. The server. Make sure that the requested resource exists. I don't think that really matters. We don't even need this. Failed to load okay, at least we got a new error. I wonder what happened. Well, it's right here. Oh. Okay. HTML and JS. No. So Tailwind is looking at all the HTML and JS files in source. This is what this is called globbing. These asterisk, double asterisk says look in all the folders under source. Find me all the HTML and JS files, and that's what Tailwind is going to look for. This all looks fine. It's getting late. I'm getting a little tired here. You know, if I was a pro and it was the end of my workday, I would just summarize where I'm at and then pick up the next day. But because I'm so annoyed, I'm gonna do this again really fast, just because I'm so surprised. So let's do this really fast. What did we call this? Vanilla, JavaScript. Okay, install all the modules. Open up VS Code, close that. Open my terminal. Spin up our dev server. Control click on that. Okay, so that's working, right? That's great. Now I'm just gonna do exactly what I did before. Just delete all the crud in here. Delete all the crud. Create my source directory. Throw all these guys in there. Or index should stay in the root, I'm sorry, that's typical. Styles, just throw it in source for now. That's not, you'd probably want to do it differently if you're scaling up, but we're not scaling up right now. This and oh, let me see. I think that's what the problem was. Where did my other one go? You can't have multiple repos open, so don't know why that was there. Sorry, you gotta resize this guy. Okay, so I think what my problem was that I had linked it. No, they did want me to do that. Index. Oh, okay, maybe it had to be out here. Okay. Change that. Source JS. Okay. Alright, let's try this. Oops. Yeah, I made like a silly rookie mistake. But you know, that's a good lesson. Let's just close this. Well, before I do that, I'm gonna go cd out. This is just a weird command that just means remove the folder. Oh, okay. It's busy because we're using VS Code with it. Open up CMD, ls to list, remove flag rf. It actually did remove everything except the folder itself. I don't know if you noticed that. Okay, so that's gone. So as a developer, you want to become comfortable with the command line. That's what they call it, being comfortable with the command line. And you know, I definitely took some YouTube tutorial courses and like Udemy courses and made sure that I know what I'm doing. Have enough to feel comfortable. That's what you want. If you're not feeling comfortable, that's a sign that hey, you should maybe, you know, level up on that stuff. So yeah, the index.html for some reason, well, I mean, it's a long established reason. That's the thing that the browser looks for. So the browser didn't see one, and it was like, what? You gave me all these files, but I have no idea how to enter them, you know, how to get things going. That's what the index.html file does. Index is that special name. You could have other HTML files like my webpage.html, but this is the one that the browser wants homes in on. Okay, so everything we did with regard to installing Tailwind worked just fine. The only thing that's a little tough about that is that you need to remember this little line, right? So you might say, oh, what? Are you serious? I don't want to do that. No problem. You gotta think like a dev and just be like, give it a name. So we'll call this npm run, let's call it dev wind, just for fun. That's a bizarre name. But we're gonna run Vite and that Tailwind command. I think that's correct. Yeah. Oops, it's called style, watch out. Okay, so it's gonna look at source style.css and it's gonna output the correct CSS that is calculated. Ooh. See, you gotta watch out. And it's gonna watch. So when I say npm run devwind, it's both gonna spin up the server, which we want, and it's gonna spin up this watcher. Node is gonna watch this guy and output on the fly. So I'm gonna hit npm run devwind. Alright, so I think that is interesting because the outputs are in the same window. Oh. Okay, so we've got that hello world. Now if I jump in here and I start using Tailwind, so basically these elements that are visible can have this thing called a class attribute. So we'll say to 5xl. That's actually, oh, text file, thank you. So I love that autocomplete stuff. That's just gonna make this a large, right? Oh crap. Yeah, I don't think those two commands really played well together. Is this correct? npm code. Okay, so let's just sort of separate these and see if they work. Individually, so obviously npm run dev is going to work. And I'm going to now do npm. Great. So that runs this really long command that we would hate to type. Maybe I could do this. There we go, see? Let's see if this saves us a little bit of time. We're always trying to say Control-C to cancel, npm run devwind. I feel like it's the same problem. I feel like you need separate node processes to run these. Okay, let's try this. Cancel. It did ask me to terminate the batch job. Okay. it's not showing up. Text XL, font medium, text slate 500. So you can just string them along like this. And this should work. Close all these. What? No utility class. What's going on? Yeah, you just gotta be patient. Class equals. So if you're confused on like typography, where's the color? Transform. All this stuff Tailwind has classes for. So it uses classes instead of you having to dig into the CSS. So as you can see, that presents its own, it's not like it makes CSS trivial to learn. There we go, colors. So like 700. That actually corresponds to this hex color. But I can actually just do this. And it should be making this red. Well, we can check this. Well, it's kind of nasty to look in that giant file, but I didn't see any. Yep, something is going wrong. I should look at my chat in case someone is actually watching this. But this is a live stream, so it's not meant to be error-free. This is actually part of the fun. That is correct. Well, let's just see if this is working at all. Sanity check. Yep. And this sans serif means that Tailwind is working. Something's wrong here. this is what I should have done. Okay, so we're, this is kind of annoying. I'm gonna back up. It's not satisfying because I didn't solve this, but oops, delete. Because we're using Vite, we should be using this option. So that was silly of me. Scrap that. Delete these weird things that I did. Not weird, but we don't need them anymore. Paste in that command. Okay, so I added these guys. Then we run init again. And we get our Tailwind config. Where's post CSS? Post CSS.config. Okay. I guess we have to do it manually. It's kind of weird. Control I. What you gonna do, Copilot? Module.exports. Close, but no cigar. Okay, so we're using this format. I think that's okay. Configure your template paths. Okay. That looks good to me. Add Tailwind to your main CSS file. Didn't need to delete that. npm run dev. Okay, so now instead of having to run those two commands, Vite is going to take care of everything. Oh no. I see. Export default. Yeah, it's incredible how complex this crap is. Basically, I was using CommonJS syntax, and we're using ES modules. So I had to work in a code base that actually uses another system that's like really not well known. Anyway, yeah, I don't know why that vanilla one wasn't working, but look how beautifully. What? Dist output. .css. Who's looking for dist output.css? Aha. Here. So that PostCSS plugin, whatever it does, it helps us. It does all that stuff. Auto prefixer, it does all that stuff behind the scenes, and I like that. Great, no errors. Okay. So what's crazy? I mean, this is modern tooling. So the way that I showed you is using Vite, which is just super convenient. And as you saw, these plugins, PostCSS, Auto Prefixer is not really directly related to what we did. It just helps with automating differences across the browser and taking care of it for you. So that's awesome, right? So that's the power of NPM. You can just bring in libraries and then kind of glue them together. This was easy to glue together because they gave us like step-by-step instructions, right? Although, I mean, I had to create a PostCSS config file myself, which a beginner would be like, what? But, you know, if you don't have a config, you can just create a .config.js file and then do whatever is necessary in there, you know. We covered things like export means that, what does it mean? It means another file can import it. That's the power of this. What do you call it? Module system? ECMAScript module syntax. So modules, you know, it's a great way to make your code portable and modular. And that's where I'm going to stop it right now. We've already got 4 little libraries in here that are just for development use and won't get shipped to the end user because the end user does not need any of these. But as we progress, we will have dependencies, and those will get shipped to the user because they'll be used while the user's flipping around, mousing around, clicking around on your website. I mean, you know, the last thing we would do is start keeping track of it. So VS Code makes things really easy. Just initialize your repo. I'm just going to traditionally call this first commit. And it keeps track of all your stuff. Commit. Oh. Would you like to stage on? Yeah. And then we just publish the branch up to my GitHub repo. And now I can access that repo from any computer, download it, and start working on it. That's the power of Git and GitHub. Git is called version control, so I just saved a version of a snapshot of my app, and now it's saved forever. So if I make a change, like become a web dev, you know, right now. Now all my changes are being tracked, and I can even see them when I click there. So, and then I could hit plus and then commit it again with a message. Oh, I just changed my title. Change my title would be the message. But I don't like that change, so I'll just get rid of it. And yeah, I mean, this is the core foundation. As you can see, a very simple website, and the sky's the limit. From here you can begin creating quite a complex app. I'll stop it right there. If you like this and appreciated it, please let me know in the comments below. This is obviously the first stream in this series, and I'd be happy to continue going through it in the future. Please like and subscribe. And until next time, it's Danny Devs, and keep on devin'.